at that time, I was definitely just like, damn, like this is crazy how this is how I'm going out. Like never suited up for a collegiate game. You know, never got to like rock a jersey in front of a crowd like that. Playing for Hartley Bay, we get to put on a jersey that represents our nation. And to me, like it's so much bigger.
Welcome to the North Cup Basketball Podcast, Mike and Naim. I'm one of your hosts, Naim Cardinal, and I'm here as always with my bro, Michael Swampy, aka Swampy, aka Swamp Bro. How you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing good.
I'm glad to be back here for another episode number 3. Here we go. So, a little last show recap. What are your thoughts on that last episode? You had about a week or so just to reflect on all that, and think about how the episode went.
First and foremost, I just want to say I'm just glad to be sitting here online with an absolute weapon in the hockey card industry that is Indigenous rookie hockey cards, Naim Cardinal. For those who don't know, unless you live in Regina, Naim was on a talk show in Regina, Saskatchewan, talking about some hockey cards that were found. It was cool hearing how passionate you were about the industry. But at the same time, it was awesome hearing the radio talk show host call you an absolute weapon.
yeah. That guy is he's a host of a podcast I listen to called The Monday Nooner, and I listen every week, but I always like to talk to them over social media, and they know I collect hockey cards, so he was hosting this show called The Sports Cage in Regina this week because the main host was away and they called him in. So they had this like box of 79 80 O-Pee-Chee, which is Gretzky's rookie year. It's not a box, there's like a full case. So there's like 12 boxes in this case. And there's like so many Wayne Gretzky rookies in there. And just a huge story. And they called me, wanted me to come in and talk about it. And I was pretty nervous about it, but those guys made it easy just to have a conversation with them.
You didn't sound nervous at all. I thought the interview was awesome.
Yeah, I was feeling nervous like leading up to the phone call, like when they called me.
Yes.
And then you didn't know this, but like they called me, and while I was waiting, and they were like doing the lead up, my call dropped, and I was like,
"Oh no,
what do I do? What do I do?" I didn't know what to do, so it's like, are they gonna call me back? So I just called the number back, and it just like automatically connected me to the line.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
In that interview, did you say that there could have been 27 Wayne Gretzky rookie cards in those boxes?
Yeah, there's like a lot of like different numbers on what it could be. Like it's probably in the range from 20 to 27. That could be within that case. Yeah, so potentially looking at millions of dollars in sales. Yeah, so it's pretty
unreal.
It's pretty unreal. Like it's a huge find.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just to bring it back to our podcast here, having Lyle as a guest last week, I think was a good step in the right direction for our podcast. I think he was a perfect candidate to blend both, Indigenous cultures and basketball together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I had such a great time doing that interview. It was like our first interview, but I was doing so much like reminiscing and remembering all the things he was talking about. Like I remember that North Battleford tournament where we went as E-Town, and that was a fun time. It was rough though, because like I think we lost our very first game. We played against like Linklater and those guys, and we lost our very first game. And then we had to go through the losers bracket. And then it was championship Sunday, and we had 5 games in one day. And we went back to back to get to the final. And I remember the final starting. I was like, I don't even want to play right now. Could we just like
the legs are just toast. Yes. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that was my first time in North Battleford, and we were driving up to the city and we entered the city, and I looked at you and I said, the city gets better, right? Like there's newer stuff here. Like
it's an old city. Yeah.
Good
But it
old
was fun.
North
Like
Battleford.
we went to the Indian Stanley Cup that time too. Remember we went to watch that hockey tournament, a huge hockey tournament going on. They called it the Indian Stanley Cup, and we were walking through the lobby, and I was like just looking around, and I ran into that guy with that Tim Hortons cup and spilled a little bit of it. Yeah, he said something that is not. I won't repeat here, but
Yeah.
we had a good laugh about it.
Yeah.
Those are good times. Yeah, I gotta say, like doing the podcast is like it's just waking something up inside of me. Mike wants to get out. Wants some walking around money. Wants to walk around with shoes. Seriously though, like I feel like playing basketball again. Like I want to be a hooper again. Just like get out there and compete and stuff. And I don't know if like my body's still up for it, but we'll see. We'll see. It's been about 10 months now since I played basketball. So
Oh wow.
we'll see what happens. Yeah. And I was doing a little bit of reflecting after that last episode too, and I think I noticed that we missed some opportunities there to include some of the tournament information like that we were sharing, including women's side of things, and I think we're definitely going to pay a lot more attention to that and to make sure that we're talking about all of that too as well, like talking about women's basketball and seeing what we see at tournaments and sharing that here. I think that's really important for us to bring that here and to have just as much equality for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. We got to be cognizant of of other people who are also playing and their sport matters just as much as ours as well.
Yeah, and we're doing pretty good for episode downloads. I was checking some of our stats. Like when you podcast, you sign up for these accounts, and we're using one of these accounts, and you can see all of your statistics. So we see where everyone's listening from. We're strictly right now in North America. Haven't gone worldwide yet. We're not like Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide or anything, but we're getting there. We're at 99 downloads, so that's pretty cool for 2 episodes, I think.
For the YouTube stats, we randomly are killing it in the UK and Germany. I don't know.
Wow.
What are the reels? There's like 10 views in Germany and the UK, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I love it.
Maybe they just love Indigenous people over there.
Guten Morgen.
Yeah. All right, so we'll transition now into our starting 5. So if you missed the last episode, our starting 5 is essentially our shout out section of the podcast, where Mike and I pick our starting 5. There's 5 positions in basketball, so we pick people or whoever we want to fill for those positions, just to give them a little shout out for the week. Who do you got this week, Mike?
Yeah, so my starting 5 this week, keeping it within the podcast, keeping it within our podcast family. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my wife and the family here. They've been supporting me. They've been the number one supporters for the podcast, and she's also been a lot of the brains behind the operation. I often go to her, show her the kinds of stuff that we're about to release, and ask her if she has any feedback, and she always provides feedback, and really appreciate that. So shout out to my wife, beautiful wife. She's taking care of the baby right now. Our second shout out goes to my main man, who I used to work with. I still do work with him. He's also coaching some of our high school basketball teams, and goes out to Gordon Naylor. He's an Indigenous guy. He's a basketball sicko just like us. He was also there the entire time for our YouTube premiere Sunday night, and we really appreciate it, Gordo. My number 3 goes out to Jack Henry Fox Gray of the U of L, University of Lethbridge. Jack Henry is averaging a whopping 19 points per game for his men's basketball team in the ACAC. This is a huge improvement from last year's PPG, which was 4. And you finally see that the hard work is paying off for Jack Henry Fox Gray. At number 4, speaking of hard work paying off, Michaela Allen just signed a contract to play professionally in Germany this season. Michaela has made a career playing for the Old Broncos in the ACAC, where she averaged 19 points per game in her final season and averaged a whopping 40% shooting. And then my final shout, I wish I could shoot 40%. I don't think I've ever shot 40%.
I wish I could shoot 40% from the free throw line.
Yeah. My layup percentage, please.
Yeah.
My final shout out goes to the Living Skies Basketball League that is happening for Indigenous youth all throughout Saskatchewan. The league was created for Saskatchewan youth from the ages of 11 to 17 and offers workshops that addresses social and cultural topics like resiliency, mental health, nutrition, resume writing and interview skills, as well as suicide prevention. So a huge shout out to Living Skies. And I think the co-founder is a good friend of ours, Mike Tanton. So shout out Mike for creating that league. And it's organizations like that are imperative to the growth of basketball, especially for our Indigenous peoples. So that's my starting 5. Naimer, what do you got on the docket today?
Yeah, my starting 5. First person on my starting 5 is Andrew Parker, aka AGP. Longtime friend of mine. I've known AGP for over 20 years. We used to go to school at Concordia together. Played a lot of ball together. Like we played together in tournaments. Played a lot of pickup at Concordia. And yeah, he's just a great supporter of the podcast. He's been sharing it out on his social media and really just trying to bring some attention our way. So that's much appreciated, Andrew. Thank you so much. Another shout out goes to
if you don't know who Andrew Parker is, go to YouTube and search up his basketball highlights, because Naimer and I were looking at some of the highlights and it is ridiculous. Jumping over guys and dunking, like unbelievable.
Yeah, in a game. Concordia, his first year, he jumped over a guy's entire head and dunked on him.
Like Vince Carter style.
Yeah, you got to see that clip. My next shout out goes out to Tyler and Jessica LaValle. They're friends of mine who are currently traveling around North America in their RV. So they're seeing all the sights of North America, and right now they're in Florida. They're down in Seminole country, and they said they're going to promote our podcast to the Seminole people while they're down there. So shout out to you, Tyler, Jessica, all your little ones with you. And then thirdly, shout out to Robin Boulanger, who is a former basketball player for University of Winnipeg. She graduated with a Bachelor of Kinesiology degree and a Bachelor of Education. She's now working on a Master's in Indigenous Education at UBC. Great ball player. But we've been in contact with her recently through our Instagram, and she is teaching in Winnipeg and recently started a business called Zagidawin Sports Performance with Adam Thompson, which promotes healthy living through Indigenous knowledge and sport. And we love connecting with ballers turned teachers, because that's who we are. So shout out to you. And then next, my starting 5 is Aaron Mitchell, who is a host of a podcast called A Hoops Journey. Aaron has provided a lot of advice for podcasting to Mike and myself. I think he's on like episode like 120 something, but he's in the basketball podcast game, and just like he has a ton of great guests that he's brought on, and he's provided a lot of great advice for us. So thanks a lot, Aaron. And then lastly, all the people showing love to us. Like we've been receiving a lot of positive feedback, and a lot of people are encouraging us and just saying thank you for finally bringing some attention to Indigenous basketball players. So we're really grateful for that. We're really grateful for everyone listening to us. So thanks so much.
So now we're going to get into some of the world of basketball. And I know we've kind of covered a little bit in our shout outs, just talking about some of the Indigenous athletes that have been doing really well in their leagues or playing professionally overseas. But next up in the world of basketball, we have the Dakota Nation Winterfest that happened in Brandon, Manitoba, and they host a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and the winners were some familiar names. That Terrence Ross and Damon Morissette from the Warriors Basketball Club out in Winnipeg country.
Deadly ball players.
Absolutely.
It's been really great seeing those guys on that team really like come up. Like we first saw them back in 2016 at the Canadian Indigenous Basketball Championships.
Yep.
As hosted by Robin, and yeah, like we first saw them there, and they've done so much since then. Like they're probably one of the top Indigenous basketball teams in the country right now, and just doing a lot of really positive work in their community. Yeah, and we touched on this last week during the last episode, but coming up on February 11th till the 18th is the 64th annual All-Native Basketball Tournament in Prince Rupert, BC. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of our listeners have heard of this tournament before, but it is one of the biggest and best Indigenous basketball tournaments in Canada. And it's always been held in Prince Rupert, BC. And there are going to be a ton of really strong teams there this year in a lot of the divisions. And actually our interview guests this week are going to be playing in that tournament. And they talk a lot about what that tournament means to them, what it means to their community, what it means to all the communities that participate in it. And it's, it's a super important tournament. And if you can, you can watch all the games. They're live streamed. This is a full week of basketball, like every day for a week. It's really good basketball. I've been watching it and paying attention to it the last few years. I've been live streaming a lot of the games, and if you tune into the CNFR radio website, you can just Google the All Native Basketball Tournament. It'll take you right to the CNFR website, and that's where you can find the brackets for senior men's, for the women's division, for the intermediates, and then also for the masters division. So if you get a chance, please take a look. It'll list all the game times, and then they'll also stream the games through that website. And I've been hearing stories about this tournament for years, and it's somewhere that I've always wanted to go to. I've always wanted to play there. Probably too washed now to go play, but I would still love to be there someday and just take it all in. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I wish you and I can go down. Maybe next year or something. We can pack up our mics and take it to the coast.
Yeah, and then just some other news. Lucas Martinez, who's Chippewa, just re-upped with the NBA G League's Mexico City Capitan. So if you're unfamiliar with Lucas Martinez, he is a sick ball player. Like, he's definitely G League level. Like, I would love to see that guy in the NBA. Mike and I both had the awesome experience of watching him play at the World Indigenous Basketball Challenge when we were playing in that tournament several years back. And I would say, to me, like just from my watching all the games, like he was the best player there in my mind, just like all around, just so smooth. He could handle the ball. He could pass. He rebounds, and he can just like shoot from anywhere. Just like a great scorer. Just like I love this game.
Yeah, just watching him play, it was pretty cool watching him live because you get to see how smart he is on the basketball court and some of the plays that he's able to make, and then he, on top of that, he has the skill to be able to make these plays, and his skill was top notch. But in that tournament, WIBC, just to go off track a little bit, there was also South Sudan in that tournament, and South Sudan was just an entirely different animal. They were unreal. I don't think anybody was going to beat South Sudan that time.
Oh, I was just trying to remember who we played, but it wasn't wasn't them, they probably would have cooked us.
It wasn't the
I can't
Bahamas, was
remember.
it?
No.
That was our first year.
Yeah, Bahamas beat us up, not just on the
Oh,
scoreboard.
Somali Dream Team.
Yeah. Somali Dream Team. We had a good game with them. That was a cool tournament.
Yes, we did. That was really fun.
Story for another time.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, yeah, we got a great interview coming up for you next. A couple of friends of ours, Kyler Reece, Austin Basso, share a lot of their basketball journey with you and just talk about, what basketball means to them and their communities. All right, here we go. Enjoy, everyone. We're here for our interview, and we got a couple of awesome guests with us. We'll get started with Mike. If you can introduce them, we'll get started.
Our first guest is just underneath me there on the screen. It's terrible. We're gonna cut that right off the bat. Yeah. I'm not gonna leave that in there.
Bloopers.
Yeah, bloopers. Kyler Reece is Tsimshian from Kitgat First Nations in Laxqualam. He was born and raised in Prince Rupert, BC, and is a father to a 3 and 2-year-old. He currently lives in Edmonton, Alberta, working as a youth court worker. Kyler was introduced to basketball by his brother, Russell, who had played his entire life and was levels above him. They grew up playing in the garage, which is where his love for the sport grew. Kyler's basketball career has always been an uphill journey as he was cut from his high school's grade 9, 10, 11 basketball teams. Then in grade 12, he made the team and graduated without any tryout opportunities at the post-secondary level. Kyler made the decision to enroll in school at Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops and tried out for the men's basketball team, where he walked on and made the team as a redshirt. Later in the year, he was fully signed to the team and then spent the next 2 years at TRU before transferring to UNBC, University of Northern British Columbia in Prince George. He was able to get a trial with the team and was given a spot the same weekend as he redshirted there for 1 year before leaving the program. We welcome to the podcast, Kyler. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thanks for the warm welcome. It's great to be here, and I love what you guys are doing. So thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Kyler. Our other guest who we have with us is his teammate, also a community member, Austin Basso. Austin is a mixed ancestry individual who maternally is from Tsimshian, from the Gitgat First Nation, and belongs to the Gispadwada Killer Whale clan. His father's family is settler and immigrated from a small town in northern Italy. Austin grew up disconnected from his First Nation roots. Only within the last 3 years has he returned home to his grandfather's remote village of Hartley Bay on the northwest coast of BC. He is passionate about building connections, honoring relations, the community, and learning about culture. Austin currently lives in Hartley Bay and works as the health director for the Gitgat First Nation. In his new role, Austin strives to prioritize the wellness of community members by upholding Gitgat cultural ways of knowing and living. When he isn't working, you can find him spending time either on the basketball court, on the water fishing, or visiting his loved ones in Okanagan. Austin played high school basketball at the South Okanagan Secondary School in Oliver, BC, and redshirted 1 year at the Camosun College in Victoria, BC. Welcome, Austin. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I kind of smirked when you're reading. He likes to fish, and you can find him on the court. I just found when I wrote that, I was like, oh, it's like a cheesy, getting introduced to like a dating game show or something like that.
He loves the occasional walk on the beach.
Yeah. I
love it.
Thanks for having me on here.
Awesome. I think one of the first things, especially as we are a new podcast and we have a lot of new listeners now, and even me, I just met Austin today. I knew Kyler from previous playing basketball with Kyler, but tell us about yourself. Tell us about your guys' basketball journey. Maybe we could start with Kyler.
For sure. And just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, like the basketball community is so connected, right? And just the way that I met Naim and you, Swampy, as well, and even Austin is, just through the channels of basketball, but also the Native community, right? They're both so interconnected. So, but yeah, for myself, how I got into basketball and a little bit about me, right now I'm currently living in Edmonton, and I'm a father to a 3 and a 2-year-old. So they keep me quite busy, forced me to retire from basketball for a little bit. So had to put the ball down and take care of the kiddos for these last 2 years. But I've been kind of getting back into it, and it's been nice to kind of slowly get into something that I really loved at one time, and use it as an outlet in the same way. But my basketball career started maybe in around grade 7 or 8, and like it was mentioned in my bio, it was just from playing little games, pick up ball with my brother in the garage court, and we had this little Tykes basketball hoop, and my grandpa strung it up on the wall, and there were so many like obstacles there. There was just this beam that we had to shoot over if you're shooting like a 3-point shot, or the cement wall was very hard to get your head knocked into, and stuff like that. So my brother was much bigger, much stronger, so it was always kind of working against that I felt like developed my game quickly. But we have our high school basketball program up north, and everyone kind of centers around that for basketball. And my brother had played all throughout high school, and I kind of just looked up to him as a role model. And so although I wasn't playing on those high school teams, I was always active, playing in basketball from a young age. From that point on, I really just, as soon as I picked up the ball, I really took it serious and wanted to be one of the better players that came out of the community. And Russell, my older brother, was always kind of that bar that was set for me. And so I just kept playing in small native tournaments. Started playing in like junior all natives, and then was kind of just tagging along with some Hartley Bay teams for the actual all native. And it wasn't until maybe grade 10 or 11 where I really started to take basketball seriously. And if it wasn't for the coaches that I had, like Sonny Henry, he was so influential on how I felt about myself and how I saw myself as a player. He was kind of like the first coach to believe in me. So he took me to these men's like native tournaments, and we'd get in his van and go to like Greenville or New Ange and stuff like that. And I was a young kid, 15, 16, and everyone my age was playing, high school basketball. They had other commitments. So I always stayed busy. I always stayed focused. But it wasn't until my grade 12 year where I felt like I started to get recognized, and I had put a lot of effort in at that point. I watched a lot of Rocky growing up, so like my training was like running up the Mount Hayes and just like doing these crazy shadow boxing,
chopping wood,
and chopping wood.
Yeah,
I thought I was the man, and so I would use anything and everything, and just try to get better in any way I could. And I had a wicked crazy routine. Like I was waking up really early and training, and I was just so obsessed with trying to make it to the next level. And I got hurt in my grade 12 year a couple times actually, and right before the provincial tournament, so I wasn't able to really show my game or what I had. And so I was really kind of disheartened by that, like all this build up to get to grade 12, and then to not be able to play or really have an opportunity to do anything. I was just gutted. So I went to TRU, I enrolled there, and I saw that they had tryouts for that September. So I went, and me and my roommate Perry had gone to the tryouts, and it was crazy. These guys were monsters. Like these guys were like 6'7", 6'8", and it was just such a culture shock for me because I had maybe 15 and 20-pound weights in my garage, but that's all I was really using. And then these guys were like power cleaning and doing Olympic weightlifting and stuff like that. And it was just, I didn't know what to do. And I had missed the 6 lap. I was so confused, just a small town kid, because this is the TCC, right? So they say, basketball tryouts are at the track. And I'm thinking, okay, it's the track that goes around the courts in the TCC. Ended up being outside, so I missed that first half, and I was immediately in my head. And if it wasn't for Scott Clark coming up to me that day and saying, don't cut yourself, don't use this as an opportunity to say I probably wouldn't have made it, or I probably should, just go home and stay home. Don't beat yourself up and tell yourself you didn't make this team. And he ended it with just saying, you keep showing up until I tell you not to. And I just took that seriously. And I just kept showing up. Those tryouts were every morning at 6 a.m. And it was like a 3-week long tryout. And I lived in the hood. I didn't know Kamloops, so I just kind of got a place. I didn't really know where I was at. And so I was living in the ghetto, and there was no buses that were that had started that early. So I was catching cabs every morning to go to training camp, and it really drained me in every single way possible. But when I had finally gotten that practice jersey and I was the last man standing, it was such an amazing feeling. I couldn't describe it, and I was just so happy for myself for the first time, And likewise, I played 2 great years at TRU, and then we made nationals in my first year, deep playoff run in my second, and then when I wanted to go closer to home, so I decided to go to UNBC, and I went and tried out there, and it was that same mentality, just walking on, and I had learned so much from my experience at TRU that it was just the same thing. Just show up until they tell you to stop.
The transition from playing high school ball and then going into university, where you're 17, 18, and then you see these guys that are 22, 23, just putting up weights.
Yeah, these guys were huge. They were, and I was, I'm not a tall guy either, so I don't think I was necessarily looking down on anyone as well. And a lot of those guys were 26, 27, 28, grown men. So
well, all that weight they were pushing, you should ask them how much wood they could chop.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that advice that your coach gave you, though, just to stay with it and see it through. And I think that that's something that a lot of us can take with us from this conversation, and having that faith in yourself just to stick through it and see it through right to the end, and you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So Austin, just transitioning to you now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your basketball journey and how things have worked out for you?
For sure. Yeah. And honestly, that piece of advice that you're just speaking on, that's something that I wish that I had someone tell myself when I was reaching the end of my basketball career. I mean, my basketball career right now is actually going through a bit of a resurrection phase, which is actually really cool. And and I'll get to that point for sure. In speaking to it, just looking at where Kyler left off with speaking on college, and speaking to any of the younger viewers right now who may be entering that phase of making the jump from high school to college. Yeah, sticking through it if it's something that you love is something that's key. But I grew up pretty far away from where Kyler grew up. I grew up in the Okanagan. I was born and raised in a small town called Oliver, British Columbia, and was born into a family, or maybe not necessarily a family, but I had a dad that was a big basketball player himself, had a big basketball history that, him and his friends were really proud of. He wasn't necessarily the guy, but he played with some guys who, when I was younger, I looked up to them as the guys, and he was too, but it's just, they played at UBC, they played at UVic, Mount Royal, and some of them played for the national team and stuff like that. And I was surrounded by him and his friends at a young age. And so just hearing their stories all the time, all their countless just team stuff that happened on and off the court, all their achievements that they had, just from like a young age, it really instilled in me that like, that's something that I wanted to pursue. It was something that I wanted to achieve. And on top of that, my dad was the high school basketball coach, and in a small town, high school sports can be pretty big. There's not a whole lot of other things going on. And thankfully we were in an age of high school sports in Oliver that was starting to boom. So when I was younger, we had numerous basketball camps going on, hosted by like my dad and his good friend, Spencer McKay. They developed something called Nothing But Net and Oliver Mini Ball. And so I don't even remember when I would have started, maybe like grade 1 or 2, just got right into it. Just because they were the coaches. So I was always brought around to practices. I was always a part of the mini leagues and the developmental camps that they had going on. I was going to the high school basketball games too. I think at that time Spencer was still playing pro. He was I think he retired in 2008. So it was just a time in my life where basketball was like everything. That was kind of like all I knew. Didn't really play many other sports until I was getting a little bit older. I was just more so just dedicated towards basketball. Would play outside in front of my house all the time. I had a hoop out there, and I just always remember, like, because I lived in a neighborhood, and I always remember just wondering like how bothered our neighbors must have been from like the basketball dribbling like all day long. Like, it's just I was just always out there and just shooting, wanting to get better. When I was younger, I don't think I was taking it as serious as I was starting to once I was, reaching, grade 8, 9, 10 and into high school. So, but it was always like a dream of mine to want to play at like another level, just from hearing about my dad, from hearing about his friends, watching stuff on TV, starting to learn about different universities and stuff like that. I was dreaming big at that time though. Like I was thinking more so like, well, I want to go to the NBA, but those were just those bigger aspirations at that time. Didn't know anything else other than that type of career. Kids wanted to do like, oh, I want to be like a fireman or something like that. I was like, I want to be an NBA player. Like I want to be in the league. That's what I just think I would do as a kid. I was just always dreaming, like always seeing myself as, this big time player, like making big time plays and stuff like that. And once I was starting to reach, grades 8, 9, and 10, that's when a lot of, I guess that's when I was starting to get hit with being humble, because now we're starting to get to the point where, all right, you're playing lots, you're a bigger fish in a small pond. Now you're starting to play in different ponds. You're starting to play at a regional level. You're starting to play at I actually never really played at a provincial level just because my family, well, one, I don't know if I would ever make it on those tryouts because I never went to those tryouts, but two, traveling to Vancouver just wasn't necessarily a thing that we would do for basketball. That was kind of limit. Kelowna was like the limit. Like I went to Drive. There's a big basketball organization, club basketball organization in British Columbia called Drive. I went to a camp like once and that was about it in terms of going to Vancouver outside of high school sports. At a regional level in grades 8, 9, and 10, that's when it became a little bit of an eye-opening experience. Like, okay, there's guys close to my hometown who are also lighting it up, who are bigger, better, stronger, more exposure to different competition and stuff like that. So definitely around that time of my life, it was I was just getting hit with humility and really trying to get a understanding of, okay, what does it take to not only think about being good in my community, but like Kyler was saying, being good in your community, being the best out of your community, but now being competitive in other places too. So that transition from elementary into high school was definitely a big one. Thankfully, like I said, we were in a town that just had a pretty big basketball culture at the time. When I was in grade 6 and grade 8, my dad coached the senior team to 2 provincial titles, and they were like, to me and to us, what felt like historic runs. Like one of their seasons, they had one loss. That was to White Rock Christian. I'm pretty sure that was a team that Michael talked about on the previous podcast. And so I don't know if they were like 39-1 or something like that. They almost went 40-0 in that season. Won the Provs, and then 2 years after that, they won the Provs again. So we were just growing up in a time where it's like, I don't know, it just felt like it was booming. But again, it was just a matter of, I guess, playing yourself as you versus you type thing too. Like it was a big mental thing for me. It's like I knew that I was a good player, and I knew that I could compete, but I just felt like I wasn't showcasing it at the right opportunities or the right times. And so that was hard. Again, through those grades 8, 9, and 10. It was like a time in my life where basketball was doing really well in Oliver. I felt like I was starting to do well, but I was also hard on myself too. Felt like there was a lot of like inner battles happening there at that time, like in the sense of, okay, I know I'm good, but I'm not playing that good at some times, and like what's going on here? Like I know I'm better than these guys when we're in practice and stuff like that, but once we hit the court, like things are a little bit different. But still persisted, still kept working hard. Like I wasn't the tallest guy, I wasn't the most athletic guy. I definitely couldn't run that fast, and I couldn't jump that high. I just knew that I worked really hard. Like I was constantly working, constantly practicing, constantly just like wanting to be on the court. We were getting to an age where kids are starting to party and stuff like that. I had like no part in that. I just wanted to be in the gym. I wanted to be on the court. And then in grades 11 and 12 was when things started to get a little bit interesting. I think I had a pretty solid grade 11 year, and we had a pretty good team too. We made a decent run in the provincials. We were led by 2 really strong grade 12 players. And going into my grade 12 year, I was feeling pretty good about ourselves. We had a young core coming up that was also solid, and they made a good run in juniors, and things were looking good. It was just a matter of team chemistry. Like Kai, I didn't have a chance to show out in the provincials in my grade 12 year, which was really unfortunate. We were a highly ranked team all year, did really well leading up to the Valleys, and we just kind of crumbled in Valleys. Reflecting back on it now, it was more so like, man, I don't know if we've got along as well as we should have, like the grade 12 guys and the grade 11 guys, which was really tough because, you get that one shot at a grade 12 provincial, grade 12 provincial showcase where you can kind of go out there and play with those best players and kind of prove who you are and, show to the scouts, show to these different schools, like what you got, what you're made of. You got a lot of pride coming from where you come from, representing your school and stuff like that. So yeah, when Kyler was speaking on, not having that opportunity, I resonated with that too. It's definitely something where it's like, damn, like I wish I was able to have that chance. So I ended up thankfully reaching out to different schools, and Camosun was one of the schools that seemed interested. It's a college in the Pac West in Victoria. They invited me out for their tryout, and it felt like a quick thing. Like it was just after the basketball season, and they were basically like, yeah, we have an offer for you to redshirt this year potentially, but you have to come out and try out, basically. Like, yeah, you have to come out, we have to see you. From what I remember, he was just like, it's next week. And so I went out there, didn't even really know much about the school, didn't even know what I wanted to go into for school at that point in time. But, making that jump to the next level was something that I always dreamed of, whether, at whatever capacity that was. So if my shot was with the Pac West on a school that I haven't really heard of, like, hey, like I want to go give it a shot. Ended up going, and I just feel like I'm a player that, similar to what I've said earlier, is just that plays hard, just plays with determination. Like, I'm not going to back down against anybody. I know you might be better than me, you might be more skilled than I am, but I'm going to fight, and I'm not going to give up. And I think that's kind of what I showed in that tryout. I just remember really trying to get under guys, not necessarily get under their skin by talking trash and stuff like that, but just like playing up on them, playing tough defense, diving on balls, just being that hustle player, making an impact. Like, I wasn't worried about getting buckets. I was just making sure that we're winning. Like, if we're doing our runs in the tryouts, like, I'm on the team that's winning. Want to be the guy that's working harder than the guy that's beside me type deal. So I felt like I had a pretty solid tryout. After the first night, I remember going home, like, just thinking I definitely made an impression in the gym. There's tons of guys, and like Kyler was saying, like, these aren't just high school guys. These are guys who have already been on a trial before. They're transferring from another school. Like, they're a couple years older than you are. They're definitely heavier than you are, definitely taller than you are. But yeah, I just really wanted to go out and make an impact, and I did. Ended up making it on the team as a redshirt, which I was really excited about. And the other side to that coin is the move from Oliver to Victoria just wasn't the smoothest for me. And so I just brought a lot of hometown drama with me when I moved to Victoria. And that really got me off my game. I wasn't present in the moment when I showed up to training camp. I was there physically, but definitely not there mentally. And when you're playing at that next level, if you're not there mentally, you're going to have a really hard time, just because you're out of your comfort zone. You're on the team, but you're also competing at the same time. Like, that's the thing that I didn't really realize until I got there. It's like, okay, we're all on the team now, but now you're fighting for that spot. Like, you're fighting for minutes. Like, those were the years or the year that I, for the first time, like, we've had scuffles and stuff like that in practice in Oliver or whatever, but we're all buddies. We grew up together. And these practices, like, guys are getting in full-blown fights. Like, I've never seen that happen before. And I just remember being so wide-eyed. I was like, damn, like, this is crazy. It ended up ending after that year. We had a solid run as a team. I think we ended up coming second in the Pac West that year to VIU and made nationals. And at that time, I'm not 100% sure what Camosun's history was with making nationals. I don't think they were very known to make a national run. I don't remember doing very well. I actually didn't even go to the national tournament just because the red shirts, we stayed home. But for the fact that we actually made it there, to be on a team that said that we went to nationals, like, I practiced with them all year round. We were the lineup that had to play the starters all the time in practice, and I'm only 6'1", but I was one of the taller red shirts, so I was always guarding the bigs, and a lot of that came from just playing hard and stuff. So just battling down low, just getting huge hits from the bigs, and they're definitely gonna take it to you in practice and stuff like that. So I definitely felt proud to be a part of that team. I just wish that I didn't give up at the end of that year. I wasn't in a place mentally to be able to continue playing basketball. Unfortunately, fell out of love with the game, which is definitely like a sad part of my life for sure. But what's looking good in the future is being a part of this team now with Hartley Bay. Like, it's brought in so much love and passion back into my life with the game of basketball, and it's just definitely brought a lot more meaning to the game of basketball for me too. So, at that time, I was definitely just like, damn, like, this is crazy how I'm going out. Like, never suited up for a game. Never suited up for a collegiate game. Never got to like rock a jersey in front of a crowd like that. That was outside of high school. But now, playing for Hartley Bay, we get to put on a jersey that represents our nation. And to me, like, it's so much bigger, and I'm just like so happy to be a part of that.
I feel bad for whoever has to play you guys first.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be a battle, that game, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be a good tournament. Looking forward to it. 64th annual.
Yeah, you both have really amazing stories when it comes to basketball, and how you got to where you are. And I think there's a lot we can take out of that. But you also both have like a pretty interesting story on like what brought you two together.
It was kind of funny because like initially I had mentioned I had just planned to go to school at TRU, so I was starting my enrollment process and registration and all that stuff. And our funding supervisor, I'm not sure what her role is called, but Lottie, we all know her as. She was telling me that there was another young man from Hartley Bay that grew up in the Okanagan, and he was doing the same thing that I was doing, and he had hopes and aspirations of going and playing basketball too. And you know, I was so cocky at the time. In my head, I just kept it to myself. I'm like, man, he's got nothing on me. Like, this kid, like, he's from Hartley Bay. He might be talking, but like, he's got nothing on me. And so it was kind of funny because I distinctively remembered that and just thinking like, you know, one day we might run into each other on the court or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I think Austin came up to Rupert, and he kind of just mingled with my crowd and everyone that I had known, and he got, you know, a tattoo from the same artist on the left side, and it was just like we were doing the same things, and so somehow we connected, and we just kind of went back and forth.
Yeah.
We had a few phone calls, and it was just crazy how similar our stories were, how similar we were in perspectives and just values, and what we were trying to do for our community ultimately. And I think that's where things really aligned for me. And it's not very often that you come across something like that, and it's so natural for a relationship to just unfold. So I'm very grateful, and it's a big part of, I think, where we're at with this team, because you know, I stayed in communication with Austin as he was, you know, putting together the roster for last year's team with Hartley Bay, and that was the first time we submitted a roster in I want to say 5 or 6 years. So to just get our name in the tournament and get the ball rolling, I think was huge for us, and it's what brought me back, and I think it's what brought a lot of guys back to playing this year. So yeah, but I'll let Austin tell his side.
Yeah, I think honestly there's a lot of mutual respect, and I think that's why it's brought us so close together. I really wish that we met at an earlier age. Like I said, I grew up extremely disconnected from community. You know, my grandfather was a big part of community, but it just like, and I saw him like every year I saw my grandpa and stuff like that, but Hartley Bay was just like a mystery to me. Like I couldn't comprehend what the community was like. And hearing now that there was like junior teams back when, like, me and Kyler are the same age. And so it's definitely one of like things where it's like, damn, like I wish we were playing at that time. Like I wish that we had those opportunities, but now we have an opportunity now, which is something special. I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, it's funny that Kyler actually says that, because like his story with our elder Lottie, because I was thinking before we came on the pod today, like thinking about, yeah, when did I meet Kyler? We didn't like meet each other first. Kyler was just this kind of story, this kind of, you know, this legend that I first came to Hartley Bay, man. Like I came to Hartley Bay in the summer of 2021, and like I told you, I had stopped playing basketball since like 2016. So, but when I came to Hartley Bay, like we have a gym that's open at any time. Like if you want to go to the gym, you could go to the gym. We have a really small community. It's like 150 people, and everything's pretty accessible if you're living here type deal. The gym is one of those things, and kids go all the time. So that summer I was open the gym constantly just because I wanted to hoop too. If you're not out on the water fishing or exploring the territory, you're pretty isolated to just being in the community.
Or walking the beach, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just opening the gym a ton of times, and eventually, as kids started to realize that I had played in my days before, they were bringing up all these other Hartley Bay players, and Kyler was one of them. He was always brought up, this Kyler guy, Kyler this and Kyler that. You know, Kyler was like this legend. And I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, I got to see Kyler on the court then. Like, all I'm hearing is all this talking and stuff like that. And so I was just like, yeah, type deal. And I had that same edge too. I was just like, all right, like, this is a little bit further removed from when I was actually a competitive player, but that competitive nature is still in us. So I just remember thinking the same thing, like, okay, I want to see Kyler on the court. Like, I want to see how this guy actually plays, type deal. I think we got connected over social media somehow. One of us basically reached out to the other, and that was kind of our relationship for I don't know how long. And it wasn't until like last year when we finally met together, and that was in Vancouver, like super briefly. Like, I think I've only met Kyler for like 15, 20 minutes maybe in reality, like in person. But we've known each other now for a handful of years. We've actually managed to grow a pretty solid relationship, pretty solid friendship through social media, through staying connected, and then now through this kind of like what's hopefully a new era of basketball in Hartley Bay. That's kind of how I see it, just because just going back onto those things that I kind of regret as I was with a younger player, like not being able to have that showcase in grade 12, like not playing at a super high level in reality when I was in college. Now we have this all native tournament, these native tournaments. Like, basketball is huge in the native community, and I'm finally feeling like I'm a part of that community. Like, I'm finally on those teams. I'm finally in a place where I could call home. This is our one team. So it's nice that we're starting to slowly come together. Last year, like Kyler was saying, was the first year we had a team in a number of years. And it was a big learning experience, but we're back again this year. And, we have a team that's brought in some guys that haven't played with Hartley Bay for a little bit of time. We've gotten some really competitive players, and things are looking pretty bright. So I'm just really appreciative of that, and appreciative of the friendship that me and Kyler have. That
is so cool. Did I hear you right? Hartley Bay. What's the population of Hartley Bay?
It's like 150. Like
wow.
It's a community. Like, you can either get here by a boat or you could get here by float plane. There's no roads, so you can't drive here. It's
boardwalks.
Yeah, it's pretty small. So
we got boardwalks.
Yeah, on our logo for the all native tournament this year, it's a bear paw and a spirit bear, because we're in the Great Bear Rainforest. It was designed by Cora Sankey, and she has the boardwalks in the back there. That's like a big staple for our community.
We all rip around on ATVs and golf carts, and we got boardwalks. It's sick.
You guys did already sort of talk about my next question, sort of what basketball means to Hartley Bay. But why is the all native basketball tournament so important, especially for you guys representing a community that's so small?
Yeah, well, I think just the history of the all native itself is so important to our community and coastal communities, just communities throughout BC who have attended and participated throughout the 64 years. And I can't remember what year it began. I think it was around the 50s or 60s. But if you think back to that time, that's when a time where Indigenous people specifically were very oppressed, and there was things like the potlatch ban within the Indian Act that was restricting us from celebrating our culture and our ceremony and coming together and sharing songs and language together. So with that ban in effect, it was a rebuttal towards the Indian Act, and an ability for us, gave us an ability as Indigenous people to represent our community, to come together and share our songs, to have Hartley Bay or wherever you're from on your chest and represent something. And with our hunting and our fishing rights, being taken away, and our ability to really provide for our community, it was very important. And I think that same meaning has been brought into today's game. A lot of our people today, Austin was just kind of touching on it, how important it is for us. We're all thinking about February. For me, like I'm missing Valentine's Day out here. I'm going to fly to and then I'm going to play some hoops. So it's a huge thing. It's a big deal, and it's bragging rights for the whole year. You win a championship. It's such an amazing feeling. All the commitment from the community, that goes into it with fundraising and raffling and showing support. It's an annual thing, and everyone gets ready for this time. So, you know, everyone's super excited and proud. It's really important to a lot of us because it gives us a reason to still play basketball and to still kind of, you know, show our talents. And, you know, for me, I think my introduction to the All Native, I was grade 8, and I just remember walking into the gymnasium as the opening ceremonies were going, and I just you hear the drum beat, you know, from outside the arena, and I just remember like getting out of the vehicle, you could hear the drums, and as you're entering, it's just growing in noise, and I just noticed that it matched my heartbeat, and it felt like that was my heartbeat, and it felt like I'd never felt so home or so alive, and where I was meant to be. Yeah. And then that year I got to see, you know, Jacob Tom play and you know, some really amazing players, Desi Collinson. Like I just looked up to these guys and I wanted to be them. They were superstars to me. So, you know, we get a chance to come play Jacob Tom in our first game, and it'll be exciting. You know, like that's someone that I've looked up to, that I've tried to be and emulate his game in so many ways. So yeah, I think it's the importance. I could never speak to the importance, but you know, for our community, I think it's really brought a buzz back. You know, we're trying to start a culture here where we can have more people aspire to do these things and to, you know, be good players and develop into role models themselves. So even
just hearing your guys' stories and learning about Hartley Bay, your team is the epitome of an underdog story. Really?
Yeah,
honestly, I think so. Like it's been not the easiest time trying to get it all together because we don't all live in Hartley Bay, and you know, the amount of basketball players in Hartley Bay alone, like on a given night, sometimes it could be hard to get enough for 5-on-5. And when we do have enough for 5-on-5, we have mixed age levels, we have mixed skill levels. So it's been a challenge for sure. But that's why it's so exciting that we have the team that we have this year, because we have gotten guys like Kyler in Edmonton. I'm living in Hartley Bay. We have some guys in Prince Rupert. We have a guy living in Kitimat, Kane. We're all kind of coming together, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see how we make this run. We have a lot of pride. I think we all have the same goal. I think we all are putting whatever sense of ego that we have once had aside. I know guys are going to just step up and take the role that they know that they need to take. I don't think it's as much more as, oh, I need to stand out in this tournament. It's a lot more than just playing that individual ball game. Now I think we're all at a level or an age where we know who we are as players. It's more of a point of winning, and that really goes back to representing community, being proud of where you come from. Like for me, not really having that sense of belonging to community, now being able to like showcase that through sport is huge. It's just something that last year was my first time being a part of. It was a surreal experience. We got smacked in 2 games, and you know, like that's just how it goes. I was nervous. I was really nervous, but I'm happy that I had that experience because, you know, coming into this year now, I have a little bit more of an understanding of, okay, what the level of competition is at. The level of competition is crazy. You'll be going up against guys who you wouldn't even really suspect can hoop, and they're running up and down the court way faster than you, at a longer duration than you are, and they're getting right up in your face playing defense after it. So having that experience last year was a really humbling time. You know, our team kind of came together in the later half of autumn, so closer to winter. It's been a bit of a grind since then, trying to get back into the swing of things. But I think we're entering the tournament at a time where we're all feeling pretty good. It's just a matter of you know, coming together on the court and seeing how we play together. I know these guys just had a tournament in Prince Rupert that they came first at the Christmas Classics. It's another big tournament in Prince Rupert before the All Native. It's kind of like a tournament where teams are kind of showing what they got type deal. You know, it's a little bit of a taste before the tournament. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend that tournament, but Kyler, Russell, Kane, Colby, I don't know if Christian was playing, but we had a bunch of other Hartley Bay guys there that, you know, balled out, came first. So I know we're starting to feel like we have a little bit of a wave growing, and you know, I'm really excited to see what that looks like in February.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And like, listen to both of you talk about what your experiences are, and like Kyler saying, like, you felt those drums and you felt like you were home. Like that really like hit home for me. And, you know, Mike saying, you know, you're really underdogs. And I think like that connects all of us here in this conversation right now. Like we all came into this game as underdogs, and like that's what's been connecting us this whole time. Yeah, we're getting up on that time when the lights are about to go out. So yeah, Mike has a little rapid fire for you here. So take it away, Mike.
Yes, I'm hoping that Austin, you don't get cut off here.
I'm hoping so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just so our listeners know, Austin is there's a power outage happening in the next 3 minutes. So if he cuts out, just we'll get to his answer right away. So
Yeah,
we have a quick
remove him. Yeah.
Yes, we didn't kick him out. So I have a little would you rather game for the both of you. And name, you could also give your answer as well. The game is relatively simple. Your only objective is to choose the best possible option. So we have 4 options for you. I will preface this because we are an Indigenous podcast. We have a twist. Each option is something that we've all definitely experienced playing res ball, our native basketball tournaments. Mm-hmm. And each option is what you experience on the daily. For your first option, the refs are the bros from the stands, not carded. Could be anybody. Could be anybody. That's option number 1.
Tough.
Option number 2, scorekeepers are never paying attention.
Oh, the scorekeeper's not paying attention for sure.
Option number 3, roofs have a low truss beam that alter your 3-point shot. So basically a low hanging roof. And then option number 4, there's no paper towel or soap anytime you use the washroom.
Go first, Austin.
Yeah, take it away, Austin.
Yeah, I'm still saying the scorekeepers because I just know from playing in Prince Rupert leagues, getting some you know, just random guys reffing these games. It's just been tough sometimes. So I'm definitely going with scorekeepers because it's a little bit easier yelling at them like, no, we got that. We got 2 points. Hit that 2 points or something like that. So yeah, no, I'm going with scorekeepers.
Scorekeepers. Kyler, what are you thinking? Kyler, did you vote?
I didn't vote.
Okay.
The thing about that, I would pick the scorekeepers, but in that Calgary tournament where we just sat, there was some controversy about how many fouls I had, and apparently I fouled out in the first half, and I was pretty disappointed about that. So I don't know. I think I would have to go with the bros from the stands. Hopefully I'm in my home court and I can kind of, you know, soften them up a little bit, tell them they're looking nice, or ask if they got a haircut. So I got some moves. For some refs.
Yeah, they got some nice Jordans on their feet.
Yeah.
You just gotta hope it's not.
Been walking on the beach.
Yeah, you gotta hope it's not the bro who's missing his glasses or something like that.
yeah, exactly. Or he's hungover. He doesn't want to call anything.
Yeah. So we did pull the people. We pulled the fans out there, and I will say that scorekeepers and roofs having low truss beams, those were probably the worst options that people have voted for. Each of those got 7% of the votes. Then no paper towel or soap in the bathroom got 35%. And then refs are from the stands, not carded, got 51% of the vote. So the people agree. Got to get the refs from the stands.
Honestly, like I would vote no paper towel or soap anytime you use the bathroom, because I've been in a lot of tournaments where organizers are bringing their bros from the stands, and I'll say it's a little biased. And I've been in tournaments where scorekeepers are not paying attention, not working for me. And like, you could always sanitize your hands. Like I could pack sanitizer with me, go to the bathroom, sanitize my hands. I'm good.
That's fair.
Don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, when that one got brought up, though, I was just thinking I hate playing with cold hands, and like gym bathrooms are always cold water. So like, I just can't stand that feeling.
All right. So your lights didn't go out. That's good.
We'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah. 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 But yeah, I want to thank you both, Kyler and Austin. Like your stories are just so amazing, and I think they're ones that people need to hear. And like, you can help so many people by sharing your experiences, and like we have so many young people coming up in this game, and like people who are still involved playing at different levels. And I think a lot of these stories that we heard today are really going to be impactful very positively, because I know like if I had heard these when I was a kid, maybe things would have been a lot different for me in my basketball career and how things have gone. So I'm really grateful that both of you were here, Kyler and Austin. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Michael.
I really appreciate you guys coming on our podcast, and it's pretty cool. Yes, like Naim said, hearing you guys' story, and even for, I'm sure Naim feels this too, representing your community is there's a lot of pride with it, especially being an Indigenous person. Like Kyler was mentioning, that our people have been oppressed in the past, and to be able to represent your nation and be able to wear it with pride, I think is hugely important. And for any kids out there listening, like don't ever be ashamed of where you're from, and then wear it with pride. So yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was awesome to talk some hoops with you guys and get the buzz going for our tournament. I appreciate you guys shedding some light on what we're doing here. It's really something I'm proud of doing, and I know Austin is too. And just for any young listeners too, like we're mentioning us all being red shirts and stuff, and just to really take that opportunity and run with it, because like I tried out and I got my foot in the door and traveled all over Western Canada, went to California, got to meet some incredible people along the way, and learned a ton. It was never a day I was thinking, oh, this is a mistake. It was every single day I was learning and growing and wondering how I got myself on the team. So run with it, kids.
Yeah, no, and I've honestly really appreciated being on the podcast. I've never done a podcast before, so when Naim reached out, I was more than happy to say yes, and I'm happy that we were able to do this before the tournament starts. It's going to be interesting to see how the tournament goes. We'll definitely have to catch you up with how the 64th All Native Basketball Tournament goes once it's all said and done. I think we're looking about 2 weeks out now or something like that. So it's just about go time. I would definitely love to fill you guys in on exactly how that goes. I know that the competition field's looking pretty tough this year. There's a potential return of Jacob Tom. Skidegut's always tough. It seems like a never-ending dynasty in terms of age for those guys. It's just a number. Burnaby, the club team with Jesse Barnes and Kobe McKnight, all those guys, like they're looking solid too. Silmelka means another tough team. I just think like basketball in the Native community in BC is really vibrant. Seems like it's always been vibrant, but now it's something that I'm walking into. So I'm definitely a little bit wide-eyed, catching myself, being like, damn, okay, I really need to step up right now. So it would be really cool to be able to let you guys know exactly how that tournament goes once it wraps up.
We'll be watching.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll give you something to watch this time.
All right, good luck, guys. We'll catch you soon. Thanks a lot for coming on the pod with us. Best of luck at the tournament.
Take her easy.
Awesome, guys. Take good care, guys.